Hi, I'm Hal Roberts. This is Bridge City News. Here's some of the top stories we've been following. Feeling pressure from the medical community, the Trudeau government announces that it is delaying adding mental illness to the medical assistance in dying legislation. BCN's Angela Stewart has an emotional story of a young Alberta mother of 5 who's battling stage 4 cancer. And a winter wonderland was on full display at the Lethbridge Senior Centre with over 40 Christmas trees lit up and fully decorated for a great cause.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Hal Roberts.
Thanks so much for joining us. Federal Justice Minister David Lametti says the Liberal government will seek to delay the expansion of Canada's assisted dying regime to include those who are battling mental illness. He says the government has heard concerns from healthcare professionals who might not be prepared to handle those complicated cases.
We have heard concerns of Canadians and experts about whether the healthcare system will be ready to accommodate MAID requests for persons whose sole medical condition is a mental illness by March 17th, 2023. This is a very complex question. Many are concerned about how this will impact them and their loved ones. We also know that some provinces, territories, and those working in the healthcare system say that more time is needed. That includes having the time to implement those practice standards and to complete and disseminate key resources that are being developed for clinicians and other healthcare system partners to address these more complex MAID requests.
The number of Canadians who are adding that those who are battling mental health issues to the Medical Assistance in Dying program is just wrong. You can include the Executive Director of Euthanasia Prevention Coalition to that group. Alex Schadenberg joins us now from London, Ontario to talk about it. Alex, it sounds like it's just a matter of time before the Trudeau government adds those who are battling mental illness to the MAID program. Do you feel like this sometimes is a losing battle for you?
Pushback to the whole euthanasia for mental illness has been very strong because the fact is that most psychiatrists recognize that people with mental illness, often their medical condition leads them to experience suicidal ideation. So the question of having suicide being the medical treatment for suicidal ideation doesn't go over well with a lot of the psychiatrists. The second point is that the government rules say that the person must have an irremediable medical condition. The point is, it's impossible to determine whether a person with mental illness actually has an irremediable medical condition.
Now, some say if people are suffering from extreme mental illness, including severe depression, why not offer them a way out? Your thoughts?
We're not actually talking about a way out. We're talking about a way out of life. It's not really a way out per se because it's an ending of options. Their life is ended. I've received a lot of emails from people who've gone through significant mental illness in their lifetime, and their response has always been, I'm so happy that euthanasia wasn't legal when I was going through that time of my life. I received an email from someone recently saying, I went through 10 years of suicidal ideation where I was going through a lot of difficulty, and if somebody had offered me medical aid in dying, I'd be dead today, and I'm so glad it wasn't legal for that reason.
Thanks so much, Alex. That was Alex Schadenberg, Executive Director of Euthanasia Prevention Coalition, joining us from London, Ontario. Federal Health Minister Jean-Yves Duclos says he and his provincial counterparts agree privately on what needs to be done to improve health care. He says, however, that the ball is in the Premier's court to accept a deal for more funding from Ottawa. Provinces and territories have demanded an increase to the Canada Health Transfer, but Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says that will only happen if the provinces agree to reform and improve those systems.
We made very serious and good progress on two big pieces. The first one was how to support healthcare workers, to retain them better, to recruit them, to recognize their credentials, to train them, and then on data. And because data saves lives, how we can have in Canada a modern health data system that provides data to healthcare providers, to nurses, doctors, specialist physicians, pharmacists, so that the data on people's health are available when these people end up in an emergency department, or they visit their physician, or they go to visit a pharmacist. So how do we make sure that that data supports their health and the work of workers.
Well, it was partly cloudy today in much of southwestern Alberta, and surprisingly, not that cool. Sadly, things are about to change. Jeanette Rocher is in now with a quick peek at the forecast. Jeanette, not only is the mercury dropping, but it's shaping up to be a snowy weekend as well here in Lethbridge.
Yeah, that's for sure. We can expect more periods of light snow this evening and then another 2 centimeters on Saturday. That along with a north wind at 40 kilometers per hour make that 50K winds this evening. Now that -11 temperature as a high on Saturday is actually going to drop down to -18 by Saturday afternoon. Couple that with the wind chill, it's going to feel more like -25 by Saturday afternoon. So a very chilly Saturday ahead of us, but that is nothing compared to what is in store for us next week. I'll be back later on in the show to give you all those details.
Great. Thanks so much, Jeanette. Well, it's the news that you never expected to hear. Stage 4 metastatic breast cancer and given just months to live. A Nobleford mother is now sharing her journey of being diagnosed with this terrible disease. Amanda Lange talks about how it's changed her life and how she hopes to be remembered. As BCN's Angela Stewart explains now, a fundraiser has been launched for Lange and her children just in time for Christmas.
I'm trying to stay optimistic.
Amanda Lange is a busy mom of 5. Going for walks on the beach in Kelowna with her kids in the summer or skating in the winter are just some of the things she loves and remembers doing the most when she was healthy. But now the Nobleford mother's time is mostly spent at doctor's appointments or resting at home.
I mean, most of my time is just tied up in bed. It's very boring. I thought that it was a clogged duct, and I kept going to the doctors.
In 2018, Lange was diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer. 6 months of chemotherapy followed, along with a double mastectomy and infection.
They found tumors on my brain and also in my lungs and in my bones. The cancer had spread to my skin.
In February, Lange got the shock of her life.
It's terminal. It's stage 4 now.
Having seen her cancer reach stage 4, which means there is no cure, only treatment, the now 36-year-old has been placed into palliative care. Dr. Dion Walsh is a palliative care physician in Lethbridge and says the specialized medical care focuses on providing patients relief from pain, no matter the diagnosis or stage of their disease.
In the past, palliative care only got involved at the very end, like maybe at the time of hospice around end of life. Now we like to see all patients with stage 4 cancer and other people with illnesses too, so we can get to meet them earlier.
Walsh says the idea of palliative care can be a scary concept, but it's all about providing supportive and comforting care for the patient.
Even when they know they're getting referred to the palliative care team, they're often very anxious at hearing the words palliative care. My job is to walk the journey with them and to help them for however much time that they have.
Just want to make it extra special for them.
Learning the news of Lange's prognosis and with Christmas just around the corner, Lethbridge resident Maggie Hall wanted to give back to the family through a fundraiser.
I asked them if they would mind if I did a fundraiser for the family. And the reason I'm doing it is because this is probably going to be the last Christmas the kids will have with their mom.
Hall is collecting cash donations, gifts, gift cards, and will be hosting a dinner for the family on December 23rd.
There are a lot of appointments that the mom has to take Amanda to. Also with her having 5 children, their grocery bill has really increased. It just makes my heart happy knowing that I can put a smile on their face during this stressful time for them.
I've done so many amazing things with my kids through their life. I want them to remember like just how much fun we had.
Now with a grim prognosis, Lange is praying for another summer with her kids. She hopes to save up enough money to buy a car and go on a road trip to West Edmonton Mall and enjoy some beach time once again in Kelowna as a family. For Bridge City News, I'm Angela Stewart.
Praying for a miracle for Amanda Lange. By the way, as a side note, over $18,000 has been raised for Amanda Lange and her family so far through a GoFundMe campaign. You know, sometimes getting a clean slate is all someone needs to be able to beat drugs or alcohol. The Fresh Start Recovery Centre has helped people overcome their addictions for 30 years now. In Lethbridge, they have 73 beds to help out those seeking support. The group held an open house on Friday to welcome members of the community to hear more about who they are and what they're all about. The operations manager of the organization, Tony Kokol, is a recovered addict himself and relayed his testimonial of overcoming addiction by coming to the recovery centre 15 years ago.
I previously worked the oil patch. I used to consult. I was a tool push on the service rigs, quite successful, and substance abuse took me down to a path of homelessness, imprisonment and homelessness, total dissension. At 47 years old, I landed at a spot in my life where I had no other alternative. It was either to die or to get well. I landed at the doors of Fresh Start, and they embraced me, and they welcomed me when nobody else really would, and offered me a solution. And that solution was treatment, that was 12 steps, and support.
Officials from the recovery center say they incorporate a 14 to 16-week recovery program that includes counseling, group-facilitated treatment, fitness, and balancing nutritious meals. Well, it's a winter wonderland at the Lethbridge Senior Centre, and holiday cheer was on full display. Over 40 trees were decked out in full Christmas decorations for the third annual event at the organization. As BCN's Micah Quinn explains now, officials from Lethbridge asked for donations of non-perishable food items to be distributed to the Interfaith Food Bank.
But every year it kind of gains more and more traction, and then we are able to get more donations of trees. And then, of course, we get to donate some of those back to the Interfaith Food Bank, which is amazing too.
The Christmas countdown continues with just 9 days until we celebrate with family and friends. The Lethbridge Senior Centre is helping to spread holiday cheer for seniors here in Lethbridge. Over 40 Christmas trees were donated by members of the community and were on full display as seniors were encouraged to walk around, take pictures, and enjoy the scenery. Ashley Kern, the program coordinator for the Lethbridge Senior Centre, highlighted the day's activities for the Winter Wonderland walkthrough.
We also have a piano player playing Christmas music, and then we also have our music makers, which is a choir here, and they're going to be singing some Christmas carols. Then we're going to have hot chocolate, hot apple cider.
Kern says the event is a great way to get seniors out to the centre to spread some festive joy, as they may be experiencing loneliness or depression during the holiday season.
Whether it's the weather, they don't have any family, or it might just be the time of the year where, someone's passed away and it's, can be really depressing for them. So for them to come to an event like this is really uplifting and has a sense of community and purpose, like you said, to kind of get out of bed and get excited about something. So it's really cool.
Residents also had a chance to take a photo with Santa, which will then be emailed back to them just in time for Christmas. For Bridge City News, I'm Micah Quinn.
Inflation and the rising cost of living have made life difficult for a number of Canadians. You don't have to look much further than the increased visits to food banks across the country. Here in Lethbridge for the Christmas season, local food banks have distributed more than 800 Christmas hampers. But according to Daniel McIntyre with the Interfaith Food Bank, there is still a dire need for certain food items.
We've made a lot of purchases, but unfortunately, some of the supply chain issues have caught up with us. So we're hoping community members can help us with some of those Christmas-specific items, like stuffing and cranberries and pickles, all those things that help to make that Christmas hamper extra special at this time of year. We've got collection sites all throughout the city at all of our major grocery stores, as well as a few other locations, but the fastest way to get them to us is to bring them directly to the food bank.
According to Hunger Count 2022, food banks in Alberta saw an increase of 34% in total visits this year compared to 2021. There were some alleged racist attacks directed toward Edmonton Mayor Amarjeet Sohi and the Edmonton Downtown Business Association. The mayor says the attacks were in response to the city and the EDBA deciding not to install a Christmas tree at this year's holiday light-up. As first reported by True North, the alleged comments were made on EDBA's social media account, voicemails, emails, and other various media articles. A couple of letters allegedly sent to the editor of the Edmonton Sun said the mayor should be ashamed. And another letter said that, quote, perhaps you shouldn't have left your home country. This would be the first time downtown Edmonton will not have a Christmas tree lit up for its holiday event since 1999. There's a grassroots group of Albertans who are pushing back against the Trudeau government's C-21, otherwise known as the gun ban bill. Lindsay Wilson is the president of Alberta Proud, and she says it is wrong that the Liberals are attacking hunters who are law-abiding gun owners.
We have an active petition going on ending the Trudeau gun grab. We have several thousand signatures, and we're going to continue through on that. Basically, what we're saying is Trudeau said that he wasn't going to go after hunting rifles. Point blank, he lied. Punishing duck hunters, punishing our lawful gun owners, punishing our hunters. That's a valued family tradition. Certainly in the prairies, I mean, across the country, there's over 2 million legal gun owners, and punishing these folks is absolutely not going to have any correlation with reducing crime.
Catch the full interview with Lindsay Wilson from Alberta Proud and BCN producer Michael Clausen coming up later in our program. Alberta ministers announced the creation of a task force aimed at addressing addiction and homelessness while improving public safety in Calgary. Mental Health and Addiction Minister Nicholas Milliken says the task force will be chaired by Social Services Minister Jeremy Nixon. Officials say $187 million in funding will go towards implementing some much-needed change in the Stampede City.
Nearly $58 million of this funding will go directly towards addressing addiction and homelessness here in Alberta's largest city. The work this funding covers includes further increasing treatment capacity with a new recovery community in Calgary, transforming correctional living units into treatment centres, creating hybrid health and police hubs in Calgary's downtown, expanding medical detox services, deploying harm reduction and recovery outreach teams, expanding access to emergency shelter space, piloting a service hub model to increase access to recovery, and improving access to affordable housing options that support recovery.
Well, the numbers are in, and the Alberta government says during the 2022 construction season, more than $1.6 billion went to 203 projects supporting 13,000 jobs across the province. That included hundreds of road and bridge projects that were completed. Transportation Minister Devin Dreeshen says Budget 2022 invested $7.3 billion over 3 years in the Transportation and Economic Corridors Capital Plan. That includes almost $25 million invested in the Jensen Dam located just south of McGrath. Canada's Trade Minister Mary Ng apologized during question period in the House of Commons. A federal commissioner concluded that she broke ethics rules by awarding a contract to a friend. The Conservatives called her out on it.
The Liberal International Trade Minister was caught red-handed and found guilty of breaking ethics laws by giving a sweetheart contract to her friend, the CBC pundit, Amanda Alvaro. Will the minister resign?
I want to thank the Commissioner for his important role in ensuring transparency and accountability in our institutions. And as the report indicates, I take full responsibility for my actions. I should have recused myself, and I apologize for not doing so. At no time was there any intention for anyone to benefit inappropriately. My efforts fell short of my own high personal standard for transparency and accountability, which Canadians have a right to expect from their elected officials. I'm sorry, and it won't happen again.
Well, things got a little heated during question period, but fairly warm, at least mild here across much of southwestern Alberta weather-wise. More snow, unfortunately, is on the way and just in time for the weekend. A full look at the weather picture is coming up. If you enjoy walking in a winter wonderland, you will be loving this weekend at Lethbridge. Jeanette Rocher is here now with all of the weather details. Jeanette, more snow and colder temperatures are on the way, so it might be a good time to dig out the snowshoes or even maybe go on a sleigh ride.
Yeah, well, there is going to be a fresh layer of snow, so it will be pretty, but you might want to bundle up if you're going to be doing any of those outdoor activities. And I mean, really bundle up because, that mercury is about to drop drastically. We're looking at a high of -11 on Saturday, but it's actually going to feel more like -25 with the wind chill. And by the afternoon, expect that temperature also to drop to -18. High of -19 on Sunday, also Saturday and Sunday, both days. Looking at fresh layer of flurries there into Monday, -22. Tuesday, we're going to see a drop down to -24 as a high. Wednesday's high -23 and a high of -17 on Thursday. And when you look at those overnight lows too, we're getting down into the -30s. So the average high for this time of year, 0. Average low, -12. Unfortunately, we're going to be much, much lower than that, closer to our lower record back in 1964, which was -32. The high on this day was back in 1980, and it was 18 degrees. Sun rose this morning at 8:23 a.m. and our sunset this evening at 4:32 p.m. Once again, we have 8 hours and 9 minutes of daylight today. Over on the west coast tomorrow, we are looking at showers and drizzle in Victoria, 6 degrees the high there in Vancouver. Looking also at showers, snow in the upper terrain areas, about 2 centimeters up in the higher terrain. For 24 degrees the high there, minus 15 the high in Edmonton tomorrow, and minus 13 in Calgary. Both of those cities seeing a chance of flurries, actually more like 2 centimeters of flurries for both of those cities. Saskatoon seeing some snow as well, minus 14 the high, minus 15 in Regina with mainly overcast skies. Winnipeg going to be seeing 2 to 4 centimeters of snow as well tomorrow. Now on the in the central portion of the country here, Ottawa and Montreal both seeing a winter storm warning in effect. Toronto looking at a high of 0 tomorrow, going to see a chance of flurries as well. 2 to 4 centimeters expected in Ottawa and Montreal tomorrow. Fredericton expecting more snow as well, also under a winter storm watch. 1 degree the high there. Halifax a high of 5 degrees, expecting more like rain in the form of precipitation, in the form of rain. 15 to 25 millimeters of rain expected tomorrow. Charlottetown expecting a high of 2 degrees, also looking at some showers and some flurry activity expected tomorrow in St. John's, Newfoundland with a high of 1 degree. So there you have it. That is your forecast.
Today's weather report is brought to you by Ridge Utilities, providing competitive rates for electricity, natural gas, and internet, while investing back in communities across southern Alberta.
Inflation appears to be hitting millions of Canadians very hard, including our farmers and ranchers. Sean Haney's the editor with realagriculture.com, and he says a number of producers he's chatted with are having a difficult time, especially when it comes to livestock costs.
Feed costs have really been a real challenge for a lot of livestock producers. Of course, like north of Lethbridge, Picture Butte is an example of the being the feed the cattle feeding center of Canada, and producers in that area have really had to deal with higher feed costs and tighter margins.
Watch for the full interview with Sean Haney, editor with realagriculture.com, and BCN's Jeanette Rocher coming up after Business News. Stats Canada says wholesale sales reached a record high of $83.4 billion in October. It says sales increased by 2.1% over the previous month, as gains were recorded in 6 of 7 subsectors it tracks. The agency says the largest increases were in personal and household goods, building materials, and miscellaneous goods. StatsCan says overall sales in constant dollars rose 0.9% in October. Twitter has suspended the accounts of a number of journalists who cover the social media platform. The company has not explained why it took down the accounts, but some on social media say it's because those journalists were critical of Twitter's owner, Elon Musk. It is the latest in the battle over what can and cannot be said on the site since Musk took control of it. It follows Musk's decision to ban an account that tracked the flights of his private jet using publicly available data. Now, here's a look at today's markets. The TSX was down 157 points on the day to finish at 19,443. The Dow was down 281 points to 32,920. The S&P 500 was down 43 on the day to 3852, and the Nasdaq was down 105 points to 10,705. West Texas Intermediate Oil was down $1.65 to $74.46 US per barrel. Natural gas was down 36 cents to $6.61 US. Gold was up $16.22 to $17.93.08 US an ounce, and silver was up 14 cents to $23.22 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $12.11 per bushel, barley's at $9.57, canola's at $19.39, and corn is at $11.43 per bushel. Live cattle were up $1 to $155.05. Feeder cattle January contract was up 73 cents to $183.78, and lean hogs were up $4.13 to $85.78. The Canadian dollar was down slightly over the past 24 hours to 73 cents US. Recapping one of our top stories, Federal Justice Minister David Lametti says the Liberal government will seek to delay the expansion of Canada's assisted dying regime to include those who are battling mental illness. He says the government has heard concerns from healthcare providers who might not be prepared to handle those complicated cases. There's a group of Albertans which is angry with the Trudeau government C-21, also known as the gun ban bill. Lindsay Wilson, who's the president of Alberta Proud, will explain why in just a moment. Listen, if you see news happening in your community, be sure to drop us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. We'd love to hear from you.
Here's today's Bridge City News community calendar. The Lethbridge Senior Citizens Organization is looking for volunteers to take part in their Drive Happiness program. This program is to help seniors in our community who are facing extreme loneliness due to lack of accessible transportation. Volunteers drive clients to their medical appointments, pick up groceries, and take them to important life activities. If you're interested in this opportunity and for more information, visit lethseniors.com/volunteer drivers. Do you have a heart to serve our community? Streets Alive Mission is looking for volunteers to help make sandwiches, sort incoming donations, assist with Foot Friday, and many other opportunities to serve, receive training, and to provide support for this important cause of bringing hope to the hopeless. Visit streetsalive.ca to fill out their volunteer application or call 403-320-1159. And that's today's Bridge City News community calendar.